Hey everyone, Lisa Salvatore here with a mid-month check-in for September. As we get on through the rest of this month, we are going to be feeling a lot of emotions, a lot of energy, perhaps a bit of confusion. And then of course, there's going to be some nice moments peppered throughout. As always, it's a mixed bag. So let's just dive right in. Today is Tuesday, September 14th that I'm recording this video. And it is a day of the sun opposite Neptune. So we're still dealing with Neptune energy. But thankfully, by the end of this week, the sun is going to move on in trine Pluto and give us this sense of feelings of our personal power coming back to us a little bit. We may get a little boost of confidence. We may feel a little more assured of our position, of our place, of what we need to do, of where we're going. Because these last couple of weeks have definitely felt foggy. We've been under a lot of Neptunian energy. We've had a lot of tumultuous stuff happening, but at the same time, it is leading us to where we need to go. We see this playing out, obviously, collectively, but I'm talking more on the personal level. I like to focus more on personal because it's the soul's evolution. It's astrology for the soul. So you really want to look at how these things affect you as an individual because yes, they're affecting everybody on a collective scale, but you yourself, you personally, me personally, we're all affected by these energies, of course, and in many different ways. And when you really pull the focus back to self and you understand your own nature through the astrology, through the current energy patterns, it's that much easier to navigate your relationships. Now, I'm bringing this up because we have two major transits that are happening. Well, I feel that they're major. We've got Venus, who is moving into Scorpio. No, I'm sorry. Venus moved into Scorpio on September 10th. And then Mars is entering Libra today, the 14th or 15th, depending on where you live. So these are two important planetary transits because Venus, when Venus moves into Scorpio, it's like the love nature of Venus gets pulled into the underworld. She goes into the darkness. But as we all know, we do need the darkness to get to the light, right? We can't have one without the other. So it's not to say that Venus does bad in Scorpio, but let's just remember that in Scorpio, Venus is considered to be in her detriment, which means she's from furthest away from her favorite place, one of her favorite places, which is Taurus. Venus rules Taurus, and Taurus is the exact opposite sign of Scorpio. So when Venus is in Taurus, she is considered in her rulership. She loves to be there. You know, she can beautify everything. She can feel it all. She can express herself. But when then Venus goes into Scorpio, it's like the goddess of love and beauty and pleasure and what we like and our finances and how we do things that are pleasing to us. When she goes into Scorpio, it forces us to look at the ways in which we don't do niceties because Venus in Scorpio does not do niceties and she does not do pleasantries. She just does what she wants to do and she gets to the bottom of it. Raw and dirty, she doesn't care. She has to uncover what has been covered. And that is not always comfortable. So it's important to mention this because while Venus is in Scorpio, our connections, because Venus is all about connections, our experiences with the way that we view ourselves, the way that we view others in relationships and in connections, it is all coming to this hot boil in which it's like, you know, things that have been scratched over for quite some time could be coming up. When Venus is in Scorpio, she's much more inclined to go deeper into the nature of the relationship or relationships with others, the relationship to self, what might be holding you back, what might be not being said, what is unspoken, what is taboo. Because remember, Scorpio is all about the 8th house. It is the taboo. It is the topics that people don't openly discuss comfortably. But with Venus here, she's like, let's get it out on the table. If things aren't working, she wants to uncover them. She wants to move on from them. She wants to bring everything up to rebirth, basically. That's what Scorpio is, right? It's the sign of rebirth. Now, furthering that, let's also mention that Venus is going to square Saturn exact on the 17th. So 1 week, in a little bit less than a week. Venus will square Saturn and then oppose Uranus, right? And again, this highlights this feeling of if there's any kind of issues within a connection or connections or issues with authority. Now, authority doesn't have to be, you know, like a father figure. It could be a boss. It could even be governmental, you know, if you want to look at it from the collective scale. But when Venus comes up with against Saturn like this, opposing Uranus, it's this hot button aspect that, once again, it's like if something isn't working, you are going to be that much more aggravated and, could potentially lose your shit, excuse my French, or, just completely go into hiding and have a fit of rage or anger. But with Uranus in opposition in Taurus, let's remember to bring ourselves down, to be a little more grounded about it, to really feel what this is trying to show us, tell us, get us to heal, because there's likely something in the shadow that we are not looking at. Scorpio, the sign that Venus is in, is also all about the shadow. Now, at this point, I'm going to mention, I love to read. I'm a Gemini rising. I can literally read 5 books at once and retain everything from all of those books. I guess I don't know if it's a gift, but it's definitely something that I do that I make myself crazy with it. But 2 books that I always recommend, and since we're talking about the shadow, is this one, Bringing Your Shadow Out of the Dark by Robert Augustus Masters. Has great little journal prompts and entries in there that you can do for yourself, and you can go back and look at it much later on, even if you let it sit for 2 years and then you go back and you do the exercises again. It just goes really deep into your own true nature, and it's quite enlightening. And then this one, which is all tethered because I've read it so many times, Care of the Soul by Thomas More. This is an excellent book that speaks to basically the state of the soul, and that oftentimes when we aren't feeling right, or we're not on our trajectory, our soul's trajectory, we feel it physically and it manifests sometimes as sickness, but it's like a soul sickness. So this is just a really interesting book. I highly recommend it. Anyway, back to our relationships, because back to our connections, back to those ways in which we may feel powerless, or we feel like somebody's taking away our power, or we're giving away our power. This is all going to be coming up for everybody, collectively, individually. This is just the energy, right? So what I wanted to do is go into each sign and rising sign and just quickly tell you where this Venus and Scorpio transit will be, so that you can see the area of your life by your birth chart. So you would need to know your birth chart, which you can go to astro.com, create a free account. I've also put a quick tutorial in my comments box here on YouTube that you can see how to do that. It's very fast. It's worth it. It's a very accurate birth chart recording system. It'll give you all your planetary placements if you already don't have them and know them. But this will tell you where Venus will be transiting throughout the Scorpio transit in your personal chart in your life. And it's important to know that, because if it's in your 5th or 7th or 11th house, you're going to feel the heat of this transit, okay? Because those are really like our relationship connecting houses. But it's going to affect everybody. I want to just be clear on that. Also, Mars is moving into Libra today, the 14th. That's important to mention because Mars is also in its detriment in Libra. So Mars in the opposite sign of Aries is in its rulership. So Mars does amazing in Aries, loves to be in Aries. Mars is the god of war. He's the fighter spirit. He's our drive. He's our energy. He's our force. He's how we get things done. He's also what we're attracted to and what we tend to attract to grow, to act. So Venus and Mars are the relationship planets. When you look at a compatibility analysis, those are the 2 planets that you look to see if they're making any kind of a connection. And then you also want to look at the individuals, Venus and Mars, to see how they integrate their own energy. Anyway, I'm going off on a whole nother tangent, but bottom line is Venus and Mars are the relationship planets. This is what we look at, right? Because Venus is love and Mars is sex, if you want to be technical. It's also drive and will. But with Mars moving into Libra, the sign of its detriment, and remember, Venus is in Scorpio, the sign of her detriment. It's like, we've got 2 planets, the 2 love relationship planets, the planets of relating and acting, and they're both in signs that they have to work a little harder to assert themselves in. Now, I don't look at anything as good nor bad, because it just is, right? And every planet has to go through every sign. And so there's going to be some planets that the signs do some signs that the planets do very well in. And then there's going to be other signs in which they're in their detriment or in their fall. And it's harder for them to release and increase their energy. But you can always work with it. And there's different and alternate ways to work with it. So what happens when Mars moves into Libra? Well, on the positive side, Libra is very diplomatic. Libra is all about balance, equality, and fairness, likes to weigh out their decision, likes to weigh out all options before making a final curtain call on anything. And so that's positive. If you look at a place in your life where you may need to assert your Martian energy or you've been doing it too much, the Mars and Libra transit can have you pull back and really look at things from a couple of different angles, different sides. On the shadow side of Mars and Libra, there could be aggravation that you're not expressing because you're trying to keep the peace at all costs, which can then lead to you being passive aggressive in your relationship. So you want to watch out for that. But also Mars doesn't like to wait. Think about Mars in Aries. He's impulsive, he's hot, he's fast. He just goes and blazes the trail. But when Mars is in Libra, it's not like that. It's like, oh, I have to stop and really think about this. And is this fair? And does everybody want to, is this going to benefit the group? Is this going to benefit everyone? And Mars isn't used to that. Mars doesn't want or like to do that, but it will teach a lesson in diplomacy and tact and fairness. So again, this could be very positive when it comes to relationships, but it could also lead to, swallowing your pride or swallowing how you really feel. And you want to watch for that as well, because that will always come back to bite you later, right? So the two planets of relationship are relating in the two signs of their detriment, but Scorpio and Libra are also side by side, right? So they can kind of pull into each other's energy a little bit here and there and help each other out. But it's just important that we recognize that this is for everybody. It's not functioning optimally. It's functioning, but there's some grease in the wheels here. Venus will be transiting Scorpio from September 10th until October 7th, and Mars will be transiting Libra from the 14th through the 30th of October. So that's a decent amount of time. So just to be aware of this energy and to understand that if you are getting really irritated, aggravated, frustrated when you're specifically dealing with a specific person or situation, circumstance, just learn to practice the pause, go into it, see what it's trying to show you, teach you, heal for you, because there's likely something there that needs to be looked at for you so that you can transcend it. Venus in Scorpio is all about transcendence, and Mars in Libra wants justice for all, right? So acting like everything is okay when it's not is very detrimental, but also acting like everything is irritating you all the time, or if everything is irritating you all the time and you're not doing anything to change it, that's equally as detrimental. So it's definitely something that you want to lean into. And honestly, I don't know that it'll be avoidable under this kind of volatile energy. I shouldn't even say volatile, but under this intense energy. It's like the magnifying glass is out, and it's really zooming in on those situations that we may not want to deal with, or that we just maybe aren't dealing with. So it's there. Like I said, it's going to be different for everybody. Now, further highlighting this is the fact that Mercury, our planet of communication, it's how we think, it's how we perceive, it's how we connect, connection at a very basic and mundane level, how we process information. Mercury is currently in its shadow period and going to station retrograde on September the 26th. Mercury has been in Libra since October 29th. And Mercury is very fast. It's a speedy planet. And you will find that it is not going to be so speedy in Libra because we're going to have this retrograde. So it's going to spend quite a bit of time in Libra from the 29th of August until the 5th of November, I believe. And then it has its post shadow. So again, that's a really long time for Mercury to be in one specific sign. And then to be in Libra, it's all about, communicating in a way that makes sense and that's good and fair for all that are involved. So in a lot of ways that could be very, very good. And when it comes to our relationships again, though, let's remember when Mercury is slowing down, which it is right now, and getting ready to station retrograde, it is at the height of its power, meaning communication snafus are much more likely. We may say things one way and it's perceived a totally different way, or there's going to be potential for miscommunications. Let's remember the obvious of Mercury retrograde, which is travel delays and, again, sending emails out to the wrong recipients, things of that nature. Back up your files, like I always say. Forewarned is forearmed, because technology glitches are super duper common under Mercury retrograde. They always happen. So just being aware of that and making sure that you're protected goes a really long way. Double checking text messages, emails, what you're saying, what you're doing, just being a little bit more aware. That's all that it is. It's nothing to be fearful of. I actually feel like, the retrogrades are a time of going inward and reassessing and looking at things from a different perspective, so that when the planets go direct, we can push forward again. It's interesting because everybody that I've been speaking with these past couple weeks have all said the same thing. I feel stuck. I feel like I can't move. And yes, that is currently the state of pretty much everyone's reality right now, because let's also not forget that all of the outer planets are currently retrograde. So Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, and Chiron, I count Chiron as a planet. And now Mercury is about to station retrograde. So that's a lot of backwards energy. That's a lot of this feeling of, processing and not wanting to really push ahead because you're not sure if you should. There's just like an indecisive quality to it all, or even just the fact that you could be feeling stuck or like your efforts are being thwarted. So just be patient because it's going to shift again. And when we get to the middle of October, we're going to have Pluto, Jupiter, and Saturn stationing direct, all during Mercury retrograde. So again, this is a time where things can definitely feel a little screwy. We can feel out of sorts. Our physical bodies do take this on and we feel frazzled. We feel more nervous. We feel more anxious. Very important to honor that as it comes up for you and take care of the physical body. If your joints are achy, if you're having headaches, if you're having a hard time sleeping, do what you need to do to keep up with your minerals so that you can help yourself to feel better, because with this kind of energy, it does affect us physically. It does. So you want to make sure that you're keeping up with your healthcare, your body, your not just the physical, but also the spiritual, right? You want to keep up with your spiritual hygiene, meditate often, talk to people that lift you up. Don't continue to put yourself in situations where you're going to be dragged down or feel worse about whatever it is that you may be experiencing in your own reality right now. Speaking of Mercury retrograde, I'm going to come back with another video specifically on Mercury retrograde because I feel that this one is going to be very important on the personal level, aside from all of the collective stuff that we've got going on. But personally, it's going to be affecting us all differently and asking us to rework the way that we assert ourselves and the way that we communicate in one specific place of our life and in our chart. And so I'm going to come back with a separate video on that. But speaking of the retrograde planets, look at it this way. When the outer planets are retrograde, the outer planets are the furthest from the sun, right? Which means they're the furthest from us because, the sun is the solar focus, the center of everything, the center of the universe. And so in our chart, the sun is the focus. And so when those outer planets are retrograde, they are the furthest away from us, but they actually invite us to go deeper inward. So they invite us they come closer because it's not a feeling of forcefulness, but it's like this subtle pull beneath the surface to go in and reassess, reevaluate, which ultimately has us realign. And so there is a feeling when this is happening of feeling stuck, feeling confused, feeling a little sad, depressed even, alone, isolated, not knowing what to do. And so please just know that if you are feeling like that, you are not the only one. Everybody, a lot of people are feeling this way personally. And so what I would recommend is find your tribe, find your people, go online, find the groups, find the things that you like to do, and open yourself up a little bit to connecting, because this time is all about connection, right? Venus in Scorpio, Mars in Libra, speaking to our connections. And this would be a good time to really dive into that and find your people, find something, someone, a group, anything that could help to lift your spirits, because it's been difficult on many different levels and for everybody. So just wanted to share that. Now let's talk about, which was the main purpose of my video, Venus through the houses for the signs, so that you can see where this Venus in Scorpio energy is going to take place for you. Also, you want to look at, while you're at it, check the house that Libra rules. Now, not the planets that are in Libra, because remember, you may not even have any planets in Libra, but everybody has each sign in their chart somewhere. Okay. You have to, because there's 12 houses in a birth chart. And then there's 12 signs of the zodiac. And so even if you don't have planets disposed in a house, you will still have the sign on the cusp of that house ruling that house. So you have Libra somewhere in your chart. So you want to look at your chart also and see the house that Libra rules over, because Mars in Libra, that area that contains Libra, is also going to have something to do with the Mercury retrograde. So pay attention, mark it down so that you know for when I do my next video or when you research it on your own, where that's going to affect you. Okay, so if you are Aries, Aries Sun or Aries Rising, this Venus in Scorpio transit will take place in your 8th house. The 8th house is the Scorpio house. So there's definitely an intensity to this transit for you, Aries, in which you are going to be invited into the underworld of Scorpio. And Aries, you like to be in charge, but with this transit, you may be forced to face some uncomfortable feelings and emotions surrounding your deepest, most intimate connections to others, whether it's one person or whether it's a group, or most likely it's just one other person, your intimate bonds and connections. Also, your own nature when it comes to sex and, death, your relationship to death, and also money, real estate, taxes, these things that you normally wouldn't talk to anybody else about because you're in charge, Aries. You like to do your own thing and you don't ask anybody for permission. Typically, you like to do your own thing. And so with this particular transit, you will be uncomfortable, more than likely, because you will be finding yourself scouring the depths of emotion that you normally don't do. Now, if you are an Aries who's got a lot of water in their chart, you may not be as uncomfortable with this particular transit. But if you are more fire, or if you are more air or earth, you are not going to be very comfortable here. But that is precisely what you need to lean into, Aries, because it is going to be transcendent and optimal for your growth. Now, because Mars is also going to be in your opposite sign of Libra, you're going to feel very frustrated because it's not allowing beyond the fact that Venus is in Scorpio, with Mars in Libra, it's not allowing your natural expression and assertion of your energy. So keep this in mind, that a little bit more of hypervigilance and awareness when dealing with others will go a long way, because you are going to be extra irritated, Aries. Taurus. Venus in Scorpio will be transiting your 7th house, and the 7th house is the house of relationships. It is the house of one-on-one relationships. It's the house of contracts. It's also the house of partnerships of all kinds. But I believe this is going to do more with, more intimate connections. And on the positive side, having Venus transiting your 7th house could absolutely attract people to you. But at the same time, because it's in Scorpio, it could attract people to you to help you to look at your shadow. And so that may not always feel comfortable, but it's forcing you, like Aries in the 8th, to kind of go deep and look at the way you relate to others and the way others relate to you. And where are the power dynamics in your relationships? Because the 7th house is all about balance as well, because it is the house that Libra rules over. So for you, Taurus, this is all going to be about give and take in your relationships. Where are you being maybe selfish and where are you being selfless? And this is going to require you to get honest, real, and raw with yourself. Gemini, Venus in Scorpio will be transiting your 6th house. This is not really like romantic placement or transit necessarily, but what it can help you to do is to pull your focus onto your work life and your the daily routines and the people that you come into contact with and how you relate there and how you relate to them and to the circumstances surrounding that. And so on the positive side, it can promote getting things done, getting more organized, getting, more down to business in specific areas. But for relationships, it could help also to structure schedules so that you can work better with others more harmoniously. So this could be your family, it could be your coworkers, it could be your friends, it could be your romantic partner. It doesn't matter. It's just really about getting more of a structure into place. But it also could bring up issues and power dynamics with how you help others or don't help others, because the 6th house is also the house of service and healing. So there could be some stuff coming up here for you, Gemini, especially because Geminis are ruled by Mercury and all about communication. Somebody could come to you and say, hey, you're leaving me shortchanged here, or you may be the one to go to them or feeling compelled to do so. And it could bring up some stuff that you might want to glaze over, but this is precisely the time when you feel the heat that you need to lean into it. Cancer, this Venus in Scorpio transit will be in your 5th house. This is actually a good one for you, Cancer. It is the house of pleasure and play and joy and creative projects and what we're passionate about. It's also the house of romance, and it's the house of children, or where we, act like children. bringing out our childlike nature. So for Cancers, this could be a great transit because if you've been very introverted or feeling, lonely, this could attract people to you that are going to help bring you out of your shell, like Cancer the Crab, or put you out in front of an audience and get many admirers, because the 5th house is the house of Leo, which is also the performer. And so with your Venus and Scorpio transit here, this could bring people to you that help to pull that out of you, or that promote you bringing that out of them. But overall, of course, it's water, it's Scorpio, and it's deep. So there could be some issues that you may have to contend with about insecurities or hangups that you have about yourself and about putting yourself out there. But this transit should seek to help you with that, Cancer. Leo. For you, Leo, this Venus and Scorpio will be transiting your 4th house. Now, the 4th house is the house ruled by Cancer. It is a very introspective and introverted house. It is a place in our chart where it's very personal to us. It's very internal. So you may find under this Venus and Scorpio transit that you are much more inclined to want to stay home, to be a homebody. You may find yourself staying home a lot more. Remember, Leo is a pretty extroverted sign, and they are usually, extroverted individuals that like to get out and be around people and kind of take center stage. And under this transit, you may just find that you're not really in the mood for that. Or if you do go out there and take center stage, it's going to be that much more imperative for you to go home and recharge your batteries. Speaking of batteries, Leo in the 4th could literally be like Netflix and chill, okay? Leo is the sign that rules the 5th house in our chart, in a birth chart. The 5th house also is about pleasure and sex, and Scorpio is the sign of sex. So when you think about all of this, with a Venus and Scorpio transit in the 4th house for Leos, you could just be at home, hanging out more with your loved one, your partner, whatever. And on the shadow side of this, though, this transit could also bring up issues or situations having to do with family, because the 4th house is our roots and our lineage. So you may find yourself digging deep into the nature of your connections with those people who are family to you, family of origin, or, chosen family. But more than likely, because it's the 4th house, it's going to be about the people the family you were born into. And so if that comes up for you, just take the time that you need to lean into it and to just chill out and just know you're going to be extra sensitive during this Venus and Scorpio transit, Leo. Planet. So you may find yourself under this Venus and Scorpio transit itching to communicate with other people. Now, if you are not linked romantically with anybody, you may find yourself wanting to go on a dating site, something you may not have normally done, kind of going out of your comfort zone to explore and attract and communicate with like-minded or different people than what you're used to. And it's going to be an expressive transit for you. And you may find yourself talking about things that you normally wouldn't say or do because you're usually very methodical in your speech. But when it comes to this particular transit, you may just find that subconsciously things are coming out of you. Things are coming out of your mouth that you're like, whoa, where did that come from? Go with it. It's intuitive. You're meant to lean into it. Libra, for you, this Venus in Scorpio will be transiting your 2nd house. Now, the 2nd house is the house ruled by Taurus, which means it's ruled by Venus. And Libra you're also ruled by Venus. So we've got a couple of things going on here. This Venus transit for you, Libra, can have an intensity to it, but more about, so Libra is the sign that's typically about the other, right? Libras often will put others' feelings, emotions, and situations before their own. And so this particular transit could actually have you being a little greedy, Libra, and that's a good thing. It could have you going into, what do I really want? What do I really value? What do I really like? And that's a good thing for you, because normally you typically don't do that. And so this transit will have you really going inward and actually getting irritated by the fact that you may not have been, looking after yourself. And so this transit could definitely bring that up for you and maybe bring up some anger as well. But again, it's precisely what you need to lean into. Now, on the flip side of that, if you are a different kind of Libra, because every sign has a totally different chart from another person of that sign. If you're a different kind of Libra and you feel like you've been overly about the self, then you may actually come up against some situations with others where they're coming to you and laying it on you, like, you're greedy, you're selfish, you're this, you're that. And so again, rather than getting upset or passive aggressive, which is the shadow side of Libra energy at times, what you want to do is you want to digest the information and really think it through before you respond to whomever this is, because it's likely going to be an intimate connection in your life. But overall, I do think that the Venus and Scorpio transit for Libras is ultimately positively showing you and shining a light on, what do I want and what do I value? Scorpio. Okay, so Venus in your sign, Scorpio, is going to be in your first house. The first house is very personal, right? This is how we are perceived and this is how we present our face to the world. And this is all about us. So with Venus in Scorpio, in that first house for you, Scorpio, there is definitely an intensity on the way that you are with others. Now, all Scorpio placements have a knack for appearing to be very intense, and typically they are, and magnetic and charismatic on some level. And sometimes it's just that aspect you can't put your finger on, but they have a magnetism to them. Scorpio energy has a magnetism to it, no doubt about it. So with Venus, the goddess of love and pleasure and beauty, transiting that first house for you, Scorpio, you can find yourself attracting people to you left and right. And whether that's positive or negative, I guess it depends on what you've got going on in your life. But if you're looking for love or, you're looking to get out there and meet somebody new, this is a great transit for you. It'll be a picnic pretty much for the most part. The only potential negative could possibly be that you could be like too intense and scare people away. But hey, whatever. I mean, this is your transit, so do what you got to do. Sagittarius, for you, this Venus in Scorpio transit will be in your 12th house. The 12th house is the house of our hidden world. It is a very spiritual, soulful house. It's also very psychological. And so you could be prone to quite a bit of fantasizing under this transit, Sagittarius, and wanting to expand your horizons and potentially wanting to get involved with someone or something that you normally would not, but you're feeling the pull towards this. And this is probably the time to look into it if circumstances are appropriate for you. Now, you could also experience some highly influential and potent dreams while Venus is running through this house. So pay very close attention if you have especially dreams of a sexual nature under this energy. It's quite possible that you will. There could be some healing that could come up for you about past relationships under this Venus and Scorpio transit, asking you to dig deep and maybe look at why some connections have not worked for you or what might be blocking you from having a specific connection work for you now. There's likely a lot there for you, Sagittarius. This will be a definite expansive transit for you with a lot of fantasizing, which could definitely be fun and positive. Capricorn, this Venus and Scorpio transit will be through your 11th house, which is the house of peers and groups and friendships and associations. So you could find that if you are single and looking for a potential match, you can definitely find that through like-minded groups that you're a part of with people that do the same thing as you. And because it's Capricorn, I'm going to say it's probably work related because Capricorns are always working or trying to, better themselves in some form or fashion. Can be typically very studious and serious, are Capricorns. Gotta love them. But in this 11th house with Venus transiting here in Scorpio, it's asking you to go deeper in your connections. Capricorn can sometimes be standoffish in connections. They don't always want to show their hand. It takes a lot for Capricorn energy to really open up and let people in. And during this transit, it's going to require you, if you want things to go a certain way or if you want things to change for you, of course, it's going to require you to go a little deeper in your connections and allow yourself to be vulnerable. It's not that bad. And this transit will likely present you with opportunities, whether it's through friendships, because the 11th house is friends, or it could be romantic, or the friendships could lead to romance. If that's what you're looking for. But either way, there's definitely a depth that is being asked for you to explore during this transit. Aquarius, this Venus in Scorpio transit will be through your 10th house of public image and reputation, legacy, what we wish to leave behind in this world. And with Venus transiting here for you, you can find yourself really drawn to people in positions of power that could potentially help you climb your way to the top. You may also become obsessed with your own need and insatiable hunger to get to a position of power. You can get involved with somebody in a position of power or attract somebody in a position of power. It could potentially be taboo because maybe it's like your boss or something. But either way, this transit could definitely bring in a person specifically that can help to elevate your status, which could be exactly what you're looking for. You may be also struggling with power dynamics when it comes to these relationships in your life. And, Aquarius is a sign, it is of the element of air, and it can be sometimes very detached when it comes to the deep emotional stuff. And this Scorpio, Venus in Scorpio is going to really bring to light for you that which you truly hunger and desire. So definitely lean into that, because this transit is totally promoting it. And if you do lean into it, you may just find yourself elevating, your status and your place in the world, in this life. Pisces, this Venus in Scorpio transit will be through your 9th house. The 9th house is the house ruled by Sagittarius. It is the house of spirituality, expansion, foreign travel, philosophy, the higher mind, religion, furthering your education, all kinds of different areas fall under the Sagittarius house. It's quite expansive. So for you, Pisces, with this Venus in Scorpio transit, you can actually find yourself drawn to individuals of a highly spiritual nature that help you to expand your own belief system. You can attract a spiritual soulmate because it's the 9th house. Just keep in mind that it may not be romantic and it may not be forever. On the shadow side, Pisces can definitely get colored by their co-ruler Neptune and absolutely mistake a friendship for something more. So you just want to be very, very clear with other people about your intentions, and also have them be clear with you about their intentions. And this should be a pretty good transit for you for expansion. Now, since we are talking about Venus, which is the planet of love and beauty and how we connect, and we're talking about Mars, how we assert ourselves and their transits, and especially the Venus and Scorpio transit, I just wanted to share that this morning, I work with crystals. I love metaphysical crystals and the properties of them. And I have many different crystal spirit oracle decks. And this morning, after my meditation, I actually pulled malachite, which I wanted to bring up because malachite is the stone. It is a stone of the heart chakra. It's all about healing the heart and honoring our emotions and going within and feeling what it is that is there. And so I'm just going to read to you real quick, because I feel like this is a message for everybody collectively while we're going through these transits of connection and digging deep. I won't read the whole thing because it is kind of long. The essential meaning: clarity of thought and emotions, the right use of intellect, integrating thoughts and intuition. Are you trying to justify knowing what you know? Malachite is here to tell you that you are both smart and wise. When you consider what is currently happening with your relationships, right thinking is married to your inner wisdom, which is guided and provided by the conscious universe. Trust that you have the ability to balance the incoming messages from your rational self and the part of you that just knows. Honor your emotions, but be guided by the conscious universe and your intellect to help you make decisions. For your emotions right now may be an echo of the past, out of proportion with what is happening today. Meditate, and it will be easier to see the evidence and use valid reasoning and intuition to weigh it. So the intellect could be considered Libra, right? The air sign, intellect. And Scorpio is the water sign of the emotion. So this is speaking to the integration of all of this, and also not being afraid to go inward and feel what you need to feel so that you can transcend it. And that was Venus through the houses and the signs. This Venus in Scorpio transit, once again, is going to be from September 10th through October 7th. And Mars will be transiting Libra from September 14th through October 30th. Both of these transits are going to heat up and highlight our connections with others. So that is why I wanted to go through all of that. I'm going to also do a video about Mercury retrograde, specifically through the houses and the signs as well. So be on the lookout for that. And I will also come back with that rest of September and the full moon energy that I meant to all put into one video, but I'm done now, guys. I'm toast, and I have some other stuff that I need to work on. So I will be back. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe by clicking the button below if you appreciate this content and would like to keep up with it. LisaSalvatore.com. And also, don't forget, I've linked in the comments below how to pull up your chart. It's a quick little tutorial. It's a free and fast way to do it so that you can have your chart printed out and have it handy if you already have not done so. Take care, guys.